In the opening scene of the film, a former deputy director at Finson named Ray King is shown sitting in a bar. Men who work for someone named Burke keep a tight eye on them as a young woman named Anais approaches him. Ray gives Anais a picture of the El Salvadorian Sanchez family. He clarifies that he is attempting to find them on behalf of Edith's father, but she believes he is requesting that she kill them. Ray tries to flee after writing something on his sleeve after realizing he's being watched. Before violence breaks out in the pub, he battles and kills two of Burke's men. Cobb, Burke's top enforcer, shoots Ray dead as he runs into the street. Mary Beth Medina, Ray's emergency contact and the current deputy director of Finson, shows up at the morgue after Ray's passing to verify his identity. On his arm, she sees the words "Find the accountant" inscribed. Before going out on a speed date, Christian Wolf, the accountant, communicates with Justine, his handler. Many ladies are initially excited to meet him, but after speaking with him, their attraction soon wanes. The women are dissatisfied by Christian's direct comments, which include denying love at first sight, acknowledging that he lives in an Airstream, has no friends, and employs a self-made algorithm to determine compatibility. Whatever Ray was looking into, Mary Beth starts to delve deeper. She contacts a neuroscience academy associated with Chris after discovering documents linked to him. Justine hears that Ray has been slain on the other end of the call. At their workplace, Burke and Cobb, his enforcer, talk about Ray and Anais. They know Anais because she once killed 3 guys Burke was meeting with after interrupting their meeting, but she spared Burke. Cobb is sent by Burke to Fort Worth to handle any additional individuals who might be interfering with their business. Chris later locates Mary Beth in a parking lot. As they examine Ray's photos and investigation, they discover a tax return from Edith Sanchez and multiple images of deceased Chilean former Special Forces personnel. They discover that Edith's father was Emiliano Gonzalez, who was killed by gunshot the next day in Fort Worth. Since Edith supposedly worked at a pizza factory, Chris and Mary Beth go there to talk to Ike, the manager. Chris undertakes his own research and implies that Ike is involved in money laundering after Ike fails to provide them with the information they require. After Ike gets in Chris's face, Chris twists his finger and deftly fends off a few workers who are trying to help Ike. Chris eventually persuades Ike to acknowledge that he receives money from a man named Thomas who tracks women. Braxton, Chris's brother, is attempting to acquire a corgi puppy, but the adoption agency won't let him go until the appointed hour. Later, Chris calls Braxton and asks for assistance while he is out on a mission to kill certain targets. Braxton eventually consents to meet, despite his resentment of their tense relationship and the fact that Chris hasn't spoken to him in 8 years. At the motel where Brax meets Chris and Mary Beth, the brothers are waiting for 3 sex workers in a room. In return for information about Thomas, they offer them money, but the women are afraid. One stays behind and requests additional money in order to get away from Thomas. The men await the arrival of Thomas. Bra knocks him unconscious by punching him off the balcony and onto a car. Until Chris has Justine rig traffic so that no police stop her car, she is irritated. In the meantime, Mary Beth finds out about the murder of Edith's husband, Gino, the death of Emiliano, and the disappearance of their son, Alberto. The next day, Chris calls Justine for help, and Mary Beth joins him and Brax. Mary Beth tries to persuade Chris that just 2 security cameras were in use the night Ray was slain, and that her acquaintance from Homeland Security, a PhD candidate in computer science, has access to vital databases. In the meantime, Justine gathers her group of teenage hackers to search for Anais by scanning surveillance throughout Los Angeles. They find footage of Anais accidentally being captured in a selfie taken by a woman named Pamela. After locating Pamela's laptop, the hackers look through her files to find the picture. They recover the selfie in time, despite Mary Beth's protestations about invasions of privacy and the possibility of exposure, proving Anais's presence at the location and exposing her involvement in assassinations against criminal groups all across the world. By the book's end, Mary Beth has also come to the conclusion that Brax was behind some of these murders, which leads her to distance herself from the brothers and carry on her inquiry. Thomas and his lawyer later meet with Mary Beth and a lawyer. It turns out that Ike was killed by stuffing a rat down his throat. Cobb uses a sniper shot from a nearby building to kill Thomas and his lawyer before Thomas can consent to testify against his employers. A deeper mystery is hinted at when Justine tells Chris about a previous vehicle accident involving a woman. After Chris and Brax become closer, they go to a bar where Chris attracts the notice of Angie, a waitress. He joins her and the others for a line dance, but when Angie's ex-boyfriend turns up to agitate him, things get out of hand. Brax intervenes, and the two of them defeat the ex and his pals before escaping. The fact that Chris obtained Angie's number makes Brax proud. Mary Beth learns more about the woman who was involved in the vehicle accident. She had had cosmetic reconstruction surgery and lost her memories. She also developed acquired savant syndrome as a result of the trauma, which gave her exceptional skills in chess. Edith Sanchez, who subsequently took on the persona of Anais, was that woman. She eventually turned violent, assaulted a guard, and fled the hospital where she was receiving care. That evening, Brax's employer, Batu, who works for Burke, gives Brax the order to kill Mary Beth. Before going to bed, Chris finds out about the hit and quickly goes to her aid. But Anais gets there first. It turns out that Batu sent Anais in place of Brax after canceling Brax's assignment. She approaches Mary Beth, and after a dispute breaks out between them, Anais stabs Mary Beth in the abdomen and walks away. Anais sees a picture of Gino, Alberto, and herself as Edith. The picture brings back memories of her past, including being trapped by Burke's men and seeing Gino killed. Chris gets to Mary Beth just in time. Batu calls Burke in the interim to inform him that some unidentified force tampered with the hits, but he is reminded that the contract is in effect until Mary Beth passes away. Burke responds by giving Cobb and his henchmen orders to gather the abducted children to their Juarez compound and put them all to death. Chris and Brax go to Juarez to save them with Justine's assistance. The brothers show there and start shooting at the mercs while the villains capture the kids on the bus. After a number of his guys are murdered, Cobb drives the bus off. Chris follows the bus after loading Brax into a van. The brothers shoot the mercs as they reach a pit into which the children are compelled. However, Cobb and Alberto are on the bus. Brax is in the back, but Chris gets on the bus. Cobb tries to sell Burke out right before Chris and Brax shoot him. After removing the children from the pit, they drive the bus to their homes. Then Justine contacts Batu and threatens to reveal all of his secrets unless he cancels the Mary Beth hit. Additionally, she calls Anais and provides her with Burke's address. Batu notifies Burke that the contract is null and void in the interim. Burke notices Anais there after just getting out of the shower. Eager for retribution, she snatches a big knife and chases him. Now that she is well, Mary Beth goes back to work. She says that Ray would have been proud and calls a number that Justine is keeping an eye on to thank him for saving the children. As Chris and Brax bring Alberto to them, the teenage hackers arrange a special room at their hideout for him. Chris begs Brax to go trekking with him while they're traveling so they can finally spend time together as brothers, which truly makes Brax happy. The movie ends here.